welcome to City Council meeting. It's wonderful to see all of you tonight. We will have an opening Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Christensen.
All right, everybody please rise. Join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful this day that we could have this building to meet in. We're grateful that we could talk about the things of Harrisville City with the members that are here with us this day. We're grateful for them. We're grateful for all the service they do to serve in their capacity. We're grateful for this beautiful country we have to live in and the freedoms that we enjoy. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Christensen. I do need to excuse Councilmember Weiss and Councilmember Jackson tonight. All right, moving on to item number 3, our consent items. This is the approval of meeting minutes for August 13th, 2024 as presented. Council, have you had a chance to look at those? Okay. Any changes or may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve meeting minutes from August 13th, 2024 as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, number 4, our business items. First on there is our YCC presentation. I'm not sure. You guys want to come forward and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Ryleigh Medford. I'm Melia Burke. This Saturday we had a donation drive at the Far West Recreation Center, and there was 4 tables.
The 4 tables, they all had different categories of stuff. One of the tables had school supplies, the second one had snacks, the third one had hygiene products, and the fourth one had winter kits. And we were all there to make little fun kits to pack for families in need and stuff.
And I don't know, overall it was a great experience, which leads us to our next topic, which is why we joined Harrisville Youth City Council and why we like it. Last October at the Fall Festival, we saw a booth there, which was YCC, and I thought it would be fun to join. So then when Melia came over, I was like, hey, we should join this. And she was like, all right, yeah. And I think that was one of the best decisions we've made so far in our school career and whatnot. But we've learned a lot of good things from YCC, and I think we've learned a lot of good lessons, I'd say.
Yeah, we've built a strong community with each other, building each other's relationships and just stronger relationships. And it's also great because we get to do service around for our city with helping people, and it's also just a lot of fun in general too, having fun activities and doing it with your friends.
And for our upcoming events, we have in October we are going to do the Fall Festival booth, which we're going to hand out candy at, and we're going to pass out flyers to those who are interested in joining the Harrisville Youth City Council. And then in November, we're going to be joining with another Youth City Council to be hiking up to the flag, and we're going to do some stuff there. And in December, we're going to be doing a Christmas donation, so that'll be fun. Yeah. Any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there more than this one picture? Is there more than one picture?
Yeah. So that was.
This was when we did the 4 table stations.
We did school supplies most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that was our group picture.
Yeah.
How many
Those
people?
are some of the others.
That helped out at the drive.
Yeah.
How many people attended?
I think about all of our youth city council council, and then some extra people from
Yeah.
around the community.
Some
that
people
came
just
out.
like came in, like dropped off supplies. Sometimes some of them stayed to help, but others just like dropped off supplies and then went back. But it was good. We loved the help.
Wonderful. Looks like you had a good time.
That's just more photos of us working at the school supply station. There's a lot of us there.
We met some very nice old ladies.
Oh yes, thank you. We loved their help. They were very nice.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your report tonight. Thank you for the involvement in the youth council.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Moving on to item D, which is a discussion, possible action to approve construction of the second floor of the Public Works building. Jennie Knight.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So as we've discussed at the last couple of council meetings, and we've had some discussion and stuff under the council's direction, has gotten more information and needs a formal, we're requesting formally an opinion or a decision on whether we should complete the second floor of the Public Works building. The one question that the council had asked was how much money is associated with the $9 million bond. So we reached out to Zion's Bank, and we have a balance of just over $9.5 million, including the interest that the bonds have earned since we issued them. The change order for the second floor build out, the original bid was included in our initial bid for the Public Works project as an add alternative project. And the original bid was $435,000 and, $435,942. During the construction process, it was brought to our attention that the HVAC and fire sprinklers were necessary to be installed before the enclosed structure of the building to save costs. So we issued a change order in the amount of $119,138. And so the remaining balance to complete the second floor is a little over $316,000, close to, well, $316,803.75 is the total for the remaining balance of the second floor.
How much was the HVAC system again?
It was $119,138.25. That was the total for that we already issued because it was going to be too expensive to reopen the entire building to put that structure in. So we were trying to be mindful of that in the future and already issued that. So the remaining balance is the $316,803.75. And I did attend the most, well, not the most recent, but 2 weeks ago I attended the what they call the OAC meeting that they meet for the construction, and they said they would honor that price if we do the construction now, because they haven't brought some of their team in. They will need to get supplies ordered immediately to do that second floor. It will affect our timeline slightly for completion by adding additional space that needs to be finished, but we don't necessarily think that would be too terribly long. It would be a few weeks, not a few months, to complete that. So we're looking for a formal decision from council, and because we have three, it would have to be a unanimous decision tonight among the council members, or we'll have to table it until next month.
So give a clarification to me in the Public Works. As I read through the minutes from this last month, we discussed the second phase. So is this just part of the second phase? You know, because you were including, you know.
No, the second phase would have included the fuel island and a separate garage space area for extra vehicle storage.
I'm just
So
trying to get clarification.
this was an add alternate. We knew what our financial constraints were when they presented their bid to us. We knew that this would be, we actually made an executive decision. We could do one or the other, building the wash bay, or we could build the second floor. So we decided at that time to go with the wash bay, because as we currently stand, after every storm in the winter, we have to wash the salt out of the trucks. We have no wash bay. We have we don't have enough room in our current shop to pull all the trucks in with plows on them. So essentially we're doing it outside in the freezing cold temperatures, and it's not fun for our guys. It's not, you know, they've been plowing sometimes all night and come back the next day, and then they're out standing in the freezing cold pressure washing these trucks. So we decided to go with the wash bay at that time, knowing that the second floor was always room for expansion. With the current landscape, we can always use the extra space for admin staff and other office space to expand the city's needs.
Okay, that's my question.
So this is the actual layout of the second floor from our architect. This is the additional space that it will build out for us.
So it includes set up to possibly 7 offices. If you look at the 2 lower offices that are kind of conjoined, they're going to put a wall in right for now, but it's a temporary wall with no infrastructure in it as far as electricity or anything like that. So that eventually, if we needed that as a big conference room, we could take that wall down at a future date at minimal cost. Probably could be done, you know, very minimally, and make that into a conference room if we didn't need the 2 offices. But it gives us 7 more offices, another set of bathrooms, a small break area, and some, you know, mechanical and elevator.
Is this any of this rooms that you would need for you guys, or this is for?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because right now I have 4 offices within inside the building that are currently being constructed on the bottom floor with myself and 4 other lead personnels. I'll have to put one of the leads out in the main shop office that I didn't want to have to use for right now because it's detached. So yes, I could use one of the offices upstairs for one of my leads to have their own personal office. And then, you know, as we grow here and as some people can move in.
I know part of the discussion was that this area could be used if we needed to for staff and police. Is that still a possibility? I know that you come first on this, Justin, but I just wanted to know, is that still a discussion item where it can be used for the city to expand?
Yes.
Well, yes. Go ahead.
Yes, that would be the intent of utilizing the spaces to expand for city staff. If any space that the public works are not currently using, but we would have to be mindful there are certain positions that need to be available to the public here at City Hall. So we'd have to be mindful of who we move over there to make sure that the residents are notified which building to go to get the help that they're seeking. But we would certainly utilize this additional office space to help with our smaller spaces here.
So the kind of conjoined offices there, that you would put a non-structural, the like load bearing, anything like that in there. Is that something you could put an accordion wall in? Not like a church, but you know, the nice ones.
We didn't look into the partition just because at the current need, the current need was more office space than it was conference room.
Right, that would just leave the option still.
We could definitely look into that if that's an advisement of this. It would increase the price,
Sure.
as we know, but that's, again, something to look into.
This is all upstairs, right?
So this is the second floor layout.
Any more questions, Council? make a decision? All right.
Make a motion to approve construction on the second floor of the Public Works building
In the amount of, do you need that
in the
amount?
amount of $316,803.75.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call. So Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Councilmember Fawcett,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you. That is unanimous. All right, moving on to item C, which is our elected officials training. Turning the time over to our Attorney Brody Flint.
Everyone's favorite thing. Okay, so real quick, I have a few things that we're required to cover, and then a couple of updates on some law changes and some court cases that we'll talk about briefly. As always, I hope this isn't too boring and that it's educational, so if there are questions, just holler at me and we'll see if we can figure it out. The biggest thing for the Open and Public Meetings Act is the City Council acts publicly, right? That is the default, is to do it in a public meeting. There is a public meeting when you have a quorum of council members, which in our case is 3 council members. All due respect to the mayor, she doesn't really count in this tally because she doesn't vote. She only votes if there's a tie. And to have a meeting is defined as convening of a public body when a quorum is present. And then the meeting is for public comments or acting on or discussing a matter that the council has authority over. So it's a broad definition. It's, I think, intentionally broad. And one thing to keep in mind, this doesn't mean that you can't all talk at the football game or the choir concert or at, the Applebee's. Have you all, the 3 of you happen to be there. Social events, things like that, they are not, you don't have to ignore each other, right? The biggest thing is to just make sure if you are in a social setting where there's 3 or more of you, you're not talking Harrisville business. And then we shouldn't ever, and again, I'll just say this has, I've never even heard of an issue with this body, so, but it's good to review it and we're required to review it. You should never use a social event or a common gathering place as a way to circumvent having tough discussions in public. One kind of warning or caution is it actually is a criminal violation to knowing and intentionally violate the Open Public Meeting Act. It's rarely prosecuted, but it is a misdemeanor to do so. Again, not anything that I have concerns over with that. One thing, kind of a word of caution, is it does apply to electronic communication, so emails. So when you get emails that are for education purposes from staff or from a citizen or that are to the whole council, please, just for my sanity, don't ever push reply all. Right? And don't have discussions, don't try and sway your fellow council members by how you reply to the email. That's where you get into the gray area of using emails inappropriately. So just don't reply all. And if you're on a email that's to the whole council, just pay attention that you're not throwing things out there or trying to have debate via your email. Any questions about the Open and Public Meeting Act? Any questions about conduct that we need to worry about as far as that? Okay. There's also the Ethics Act it applies to administrative staff as well as elected officials. But basically with that is you cannot use private or protected information for your gain. Most of the Ethics Act has to do with financial gain. So you should never be using information you get that is confidential or protected to, talk to a bank and get a special interest rate or, make some stock moves. If you're elected federally, you can do that, but you guys can't. Sorry, I had to throw it out there. I probably shouldn't have, but I'm going to.
Out of the city. Wow.
No
Yeah,
insider
yeah.
trading.
Yeah. Insider, yeah.
Yep. Also, you can't leverage your position for the same type of financial gain or privilege or that. So I think that's really clear. I've never even smelt an issue or anything that we need to talk about here, but it's always good as a reminder. You also can't take any money or gifts for helping people. So if a citizen comes up and wants to talk to you about an issue, and that's great, and then they're like, hey, here's $100 for your time, you don't get to do that. And also that anytime that you take a gift or anything like that, it has to be under $50. So just be careful. One of the things that can be actually quite interesting is like we go to conferences, right? And all the conferences that we go to are very, very good about what they give you being under the $50. So if they have, a notebook and those type of things. And again, this is not issues that I've heard with Harrisville City at all, but pay attention to golf, which can actually turn into a really scary one. I'm not a golfer, I don't like it, but if you go golfing with someone, it's probably more than $50. So just be careful with that. That's a very common one that I think is kind of one of those fuzzy areas where it's done, but if you go golf, pay for half of it or just pay for the whole thing and go golf. Don't take golf rounds from people if it's for your position here. Okay. One thing I wanted to talk about is the individual council members, and I think you guys know me well. I don't mean this to sound harsh, but I'm just going to talk bluntly and honestly. One of the things I see when I look at a lot of different municipalities and people we talk to and discussions I have with other attorneys, other city managers, is it's really hard because you get elected city council, you won an election, you have a very important duty to do. And good on you for your time and your sacrifice to do that. But also on the flip side, you still need to know you're really not that special. And I don't mean that harshly, but you're not. You are special because you sit here when the body of a quorum is together and 3 of you make decisions that affect your city, right? So, Councilmember Fawcett, when you call up Justin, you're really not that special. Clearly, his job is to facilitate the council and those type of things. So pay attention to what you're asking and what you're saying to staff, because it puts staff in a really hard position when, right, I'll take me. I'm Councilmember Brody, and I call up Jennie and be like, Jennie, did you see this thing that happened down the road on my street? Like there's a tree out there and there's this giant mess. Go get someone to clean that up. Right? Should Jennie listen to you?
I can get some friends to go clean it up.
What?
I can get some friends to clean it up.
Fair enough. Right. And it's a tough spot for Jennie, right? Because you guys control whether or not she has a job. And her job is to respond to what you direct. But a single council member telling staff what to do, you really don't have the authority to do that. But it's also the flip side. The staff is more than likely going to listen to what you say. So this is one of my responsibilities, and I've been called a lot of things. Blunt is usually one of them. Like, that is, in my opinion, one of the most selfish things a city council person can do. Because you're saying, I am better than everyone else because I'm a member of the council, and I'm going to direct staff what to do, right? It's tough, because then the staff they have no recourse to you. Clearly, staff needs to be aware of emergencies. We need to be aware of issues. And if there are things that need to happen, right? If a water main is breaking, Justin wants you to call him, no matter where it is. So where that line is, nobody really knows, and I can't tell you either. But just be cognizant of that, is that your authority comes when you sit here and there's a quorum present and 3 of you give direction or make decisions. maybe the funnest one of the new world. Social media. Everyone have a social media account? Yeah, you do. Come on. Okay. So, the question comes, and there's been quite a few cases. The Supreme Court actually ruled recently that gave us some pretty good direction. As an individual, you have First Amendment rights to say the things you want to say, clearly. As a governmental actor, you have responsibilities not to violate First Amendment rights of other people. So the question becomes is what can and can you, or what should and should you not be doing on your social medias? So here's the example of the case that the Supreme Court ruled. During COVID, a city manager in Michigan would occasionally say, oh, you know, had to miss my son's game because I was at city council. Or, you know, hey, had a great time at the Easter egg hunt with the city. So it was his personal page. He wasn't posting public notices on it or anything, but he would say, you know, like, these are the things that I'm doing because I work for the city. Well, he posted something about COVID, and honestly, I don't even remember if he was pro or against or what side of that he sat on. But one of his residents took extreme issue with it. Started sending him comments, very rude things on the Facebook, right? Responding to him. Every comment was, you're dumb and you don't know anything about COVID and blah, blah, blah. Essentially harassing him and being quite ignorant. So he blocked the individual from his personal Facebook page. Well, the individual sued and said, you can't block me because the government doesn't get to do that when you don't like what I say, right? That's the premise of the First Amendment is within, except for some narrow exceptions, you get to say what you want to say. Okay, so it went to court, blah, blah, blah. Here's what the Supreme Court ultimately said, is that the test is this. If you have actual authority to speak for the city, which my interpretation, all of you do, because you sit right there, and you purport to exercise that authority while speaking on social media, meaning when you make a post saying, Harrisville City, you are what's called a state actor. So you then have the obligation to respect everybody's First Amendment rights in a different manner than if you made the post as a private citizen. So you cannot block people. You cannot delete them. You cannot send them to Facebook prison or whatever it is. You don't get to do that. Okay, so the test actually is really good because it gave us some advice. First thing is, if you really want to be active on social media as a council member, set up a council member page. Have a personal page, have a council member page. On your personal pages, label it such. Say, this is council member John. Personal opinions are mine, not of the city. The Supreme Court actually said that type of label on your personal page would give you the presumption that it's a private post in court, which is a big deal. And then the other thing is, just don't speak as if you're doing it or that you speak for the whole city on your personal pages. If there is a question about it, call me, talk to me, we'll look at it. But don't delete them, don't block them, just move on with life and ignore Facebook for a little bit. The interesting thing, and this is still percolating through the court system, is no doubt, if you violated this test and violated the First Amendment rights, certainly Harrisville City would have some liability. There is some question of whether or not you would have personal liability for those actions. So don't do that. Separate them, and just like we talked about, on your personal page, label it as such, and don't post as if you're posting for the city. Post for yourself. That is one of those things that will still have legs, and there will be updates to this because it's just a new landscape legally. I think everyone's still trying to figure out what the rules exactly are and what we do. And there's a lot of people that, are really upset and like to say things on emails and Facebooks and whatever other social media are used, and they're trying to figure out a way to get money out of governments and city officials out of that. So just be really careful with that for right now. But the biggest thing, just follow those rules. You do have the authority to speak because you sit here, so be very careful. Just do not speak as if you're the city or you're purporting to speak for the city or make a city announcement. One of the other things that's important to say is, if the information is publicly somewhere else and you just say, hey, here's the information that was posted, if you share Harrisville's, Easter egg hunt invitation, whatever it is, that's totally fine because it's not your information. You're clearly saying, here's a site to wherever this public information is. That's okay. Questions, comments, concerns about that? Very clear. All right. I still have a lot, so we'll keep working on it. And lastly, I want to just touch on this as we go into some election years. You have some ballot initiatives and things. Be very careful again with the use of city resources and city time for election matters, whether that's your own election or national elections or ballot initiatives. You cannot expend city funds and or use city resources to promote an election one way or another. That includes ballot initiatives, that includes local races, national races. The biggest thing with this, again, is your email. You might get an email from whomever or whatever group. Don't respond to them with your city emails. If you get that in your city email, just like I was talking to Jenny, there is a delete button on your email for a reason. Just use it. So, any questions about what we've talked about, or just in general, how to keep the city out of trouble? All right, thanks.
Gosh, you kind of scared me. You said you had a lot more. That wasn't bad. Thank you, Brody. Appreciate that. Keep us out of trouble. All right, item number 5 is public comment. You're welcome to come to the podium, state your name, and you have 3 minutes. If there's any. All right, I'm assuming there's not. I'm going on to item number 6, which is mayor council follow-up. I'm going to start with our staff first. Director Schinzel, you want to start?
I have to turn the mic on. As we can all see, 89, the UDOT Highway 89 project is now completed. Hallelujah. Part of that also, it's a neighboring city, but just to inform you, on Sunday, 2550 North will be shut down due to an overlay of Pleasant View, overlaying asphalt for that road. Again, so that's just a point of information. As far as public works, we are diligently working on a lot of new development that's going on within our city, which is exciting and fun, but it's a lot of work. Anticipation of the new snowplow truck that we ordered 2 years ago is supposed to be in by the end of this week through next week. Well, that will really help us out a lot, especially on our roads that are a little bit wider. This will have a side wing on it and hold a little more salt, and probably helps clean up. It does about 1.5 times what a normal pickup truck can do for snow removal. So that'll be nice on our West Harrisville Road, 2000, 1100 Levison Lane. Our main roads that are quite wide. We can get them cleaned up a lot quicker. Again, just going through what we have to go through. We will be doing some financial feasibility studies coming up that'll be presented to you guys later. That we'll be looking at some fee changes. So that's all we have right now.
Thank you. Director Tait.
Yeah, so we're right in the middle of a little swing set wood chip replacement project. The swing set's by the tennis courts. That's been long overdue, so we've removed those old wood chips. There's a pretty large pile sitting there in that parking lot. We've got a pretty large service project scheduled for tomorrow with 9/11 to come in. They're going to move those, what they can, move those in tomorrow night. Then whatever they don't get done, staff will get moved in. So that'll be good to get done. And then we've got fall cleanup coming up October 7th through the 10th. And then, of course, the fall festival October 22nd. So looking forward to that. That's about it.
Thank you. I need to excuse Chief Wilson, but Dennis, did you want to report at all about anything in the police department?
As you know, we're down 3 officers, and that doesn't include our 4th position for the cops grant. We're actually reaching out and looking at picking up some possible students that are actually in the academy. But we're just looking at this with a lot of different caveats that we really have to take a long look at, because that does push hiring an officer to an officer, a usable officer on the street out quite a ways. So that's one of the biggest things we're looking at right now, is just finding more people to fill our own positions.
All right, thank you. Administrator Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of things just want to bring to council's attention. The most recent animal control meeting I attended, I believe I might have touched on last month. They are in the middle of their budget. The director at the animal shelter has asked to double their personnel to provide additional services, which their animal control services runs as an enterprise fund for the county. So very much like our garbage fund. So if they increase their personnel, that'll be a direct correlation to the money that we were paying to the animal control shelter. So we don't have those numbers yet. They Commissioner Bolos announced that at Wake Up last night, that they will be holding a meeting for all cities that are serviced by Weber County for animal services, and we'll bring those numbers back, but I just wanted to put it on your radar that we will put that on as a discussion item so that staff can get direction on what you'd like us to do and report back to them, because it would be an increase to the fees that we're currently paying. And one of the issues that Commissioner Bolos I believe it was actually Commissioner Harvey pointed out, is they've moved to a no-kill shelter, and they have the same staffing. So that's created some issue for them to meet the demands of the shelter with that many animals, essentially. They have a lot more animals. There are a couple of Ben Lomond Views updates. There's a new developer interested in purchasing the project, and we are setting up a committee meeting with the original committee members to talk about proposed amendments. There are quite a few amendments they're proposing, so I opted, and I'll let Brody know this tonight too, I opted to have to go through the full process again because of the type of amendment they want to make to the development agreement. So we will discuss those as a committee, and then we'll put it to Planning Commission, hold a public hearing. We'll go through the whole process again to make sure that the public is aware of what they're proposing and those changes. Along those lines, we have received an application for a PID, a Public Infrastructure District, related to Ben Lomond. It's mostly related to the off-site improvements that were required for the sewer, stormwater, but I am working with Marcus for our financial advisor to make sure that we understand what they're proposing before we bring it to council. And then it'll be up for your discussion and answering questions, and we'll have both teams available for you at a future meeting. And then we did postpone the revenue discussion based on the property tax increase. We postponed that discussion until October, but we do have some numbers that you can use to see where you might want to direct staff to put that money from the revenue that's created from the property tax increase. We've had staff run some numbers for positions, code enforcement, planning, and public relations. So we have some of those numbers we'll provide to you next month.
Thank you. Council follow-up. Grover, you have anything for us tonight?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things.
Okay.
We had our senior citizens today and luncheon. Had a wonderful band from the Utah Old Time Fiddlers come and play. Unfortunately, they were 50% of what showed up. It wasn't very well attended, but it was good food, it was good entertainment. Some of the members said, well, is this the second Tuesday? Or is it kind of still the first Tuesday, where it was the 10th? And some people still think where it's a 5-week month, or 5-week month, and it's next week. So, don't know why I didn't contend, but it was a lot of fun and it was enjoyable. Another thing is following up on the mosquito. I sit on the mosquito board, and one of the things that they talked about was recently in the newspaper we had this rash of mosquitoes that blew in, and they took care of it as fast as they can. One of the questions was, were these mosquitoes the cause and effect of West Spotted virus, and they are not. They don't carry that disease at all. But they're a very big nuisance, and the problem was because the winds blew from the west, everything from the east got nailed with mosquitoes. And of course they've been trying to carry that with planes and do all the coverage out there. So that meant the foggers were out, around the clock. And one of the things that I've been impressed with is they've been using drones as kind of an intermediate between what the planes can't get in close versus actually walking out into the pass and doing hand filtering of the materials that they use to kill mosquitoes. And they have been very good as far as precise and effective. It's really cut our costs and a lot of the genocide material that we need. And so they're very cost effective. They have been building an additional part of their buildings, and it's completely old. It'll be pretty well tied in and closed in by fall, so they moved very well ahead of that, and that will help house the trucks for the drones that they're using. But potentially this is turning into very, very effective things. So it's just a quick report of what's happening in the mosquito. We did have one case as far as West Nile in Weaver County, and that was actually in the far west. And what the mosquito I could say that the mosquito crew do is once that is tested positive, and they literally go out within the next 24 hours and just basically saturate that area, then retest again within the next 24 hours, and it always has come back negative, and so they douse it wherever it is. I think there are also 2 horses, so there's 3 cases, 2 horses that had West Nile. And so they're really on top of everything, is keeping it as much as possible. One of the things that's nice, Jack mentioned that somebody called in about it, the ability as far as calling in and registering for a need is online, and it's very easy to fill out simple paperwork, but they respond very fast, and they will also call quickly to take care of our needs. So Hooper still exists. It has not been carried away by the mosquitoes, so that should keep doing it. Anyway, those are the 2 things I have.
Thank you. Karen, you have anything? Okay, Blair?
I don't have anything.
Okay. I just want to report that we went, Jenny and I went to the League's conference last week. We had a lot of this training that Brody was talking about, a lot of the things that are ramping up for the legislature, so we'll be aware of that and report to you if we ever get any changes. But that will be coming, LBC will be starting, I think, next, you've already started with LBC. They'll be starting those, and we'll head into the legislature, and hopefully they won't bring a lot of new stuff to us this year, but we'll make you aware of that when it happens. And with that, item number 7 is adjourned.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries, and we're adjourned for the evening.
Jim had mentioned something last